welcome back to another video. My name's Destiny and this is Miss Ollie Mae, and we are here to talk to you about my top 5 YA thrillers. If you're wondering, her first name is not Ollie, it's actually Evangeline Ollie Mae, but we call her Ollie. Yeah, that's my little Ollie girl. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I have 2 by the same author on this list, so I'm gonna start with one and then end with one. The first one on my list is Sadie by Courtney Summers. I loved this so much. I did listen to it audibly and read along with it. This is all about Sadie who goes looking for her, or her sister goes looking for her. And basically Sadie goes off looking for her father, I believe. I'm trying to remember exactly. No, okay, I remember now. So Sadie goes looking for the murderer of her sister. And you're following Sadie's point of view of what she's going through, and you're also following I believe he's a journalist looking into Sadie's story and talking to people and following in her steps, figuring out what happened to Sadie, where did Sadie go. Guys, this is the most moving book I have read in a long time. It is so good. I know you've probably seen it all over the internet, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. But it is so good. Sadie is pretty amazing. What starts Sadie out is her sister Maddie is brutally murdered and they have no answers. It was just Sadie and Maddie. Her mom had floated in and out of their lives, and their mom had left them. They lived in a trailer park where Sadie worked to keep them alive, and one of the neighbor ladies helped take care of them. And one day Sadie just goes missing, and so I believe it's a neighbor lady who calls and implores this journalist to find Sadie, what happened to Sadie. And so he starts a podcast, Where is Sadie? And he documents through this podcast all, what's going on with Sadie. And so part of the chapters are Sadie, and then part of them are written out, and it's the podcast. So it honestly is so good. I know everyone raves about Sadie, so if you've not picked up Sadie, I highly recommend. Next on my list is You're Next by Kylie. I'm not even going to pronounce the last name, but Kylie. It is about a queer girl who her ex-girlfriend calls her and tells her, I need your help. You need to come here. Come here. I need your help. And then when she gets there, she dies in her arms. And now Flora is left to figure out what happened, why was she there, what's going on, who did this, basically. Flora has been known for putting her nose where it doesn't belong when it comes to police and police investigations. So the police are already at Flora, do not look into this, do not go anywhere near this. She actually had already been charged for breaking into someone's house, trying to get evidence of a crime they committed. So you have that kind of, building up as well. And so Flora decides that she's going to look into it. And I believe, because she has to take someone with her. I don't remember. It doesn't say. I swore she had like a psychic moment that goes with her, but she actually, when she starts digging, she realizes not just Ava has been murdered and has died. And then she starts noticing that there are other kids at her school who are coming up, with bruises and bumps and things. And it kind of swirls from there. This is really good though. It reminded me of a little bit of The Good Girls by Karen Slaughter, because you're kind of thrown into this murder and then it kind of devolves from there, and when you realize what's going on, it's just a shock to your system. So that's what I would compare that to. Number 3 on my list, which these are in no particular order. These are just the ones as I'm picking them up off the couch next to me. And this one is Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. Now, this is definitely a YA thriller where you're going to have to disband belief a little bit to enjoy this one. Because chunky girl, are you trying to get your foot? Are you trying to get your foot? She is a whirly little girl and wants her feet. There, you lay mama's lap with your feet. Okay. This one is an amateur sleuth who's trying to prove whether this murder was committed or not. So a girl is murdered and they believe this boy did it and he committed suicide. Well, I'm trying to remember her name. Pip. For her senior project, she decides to prove whether or not Sal really did kill Addie. And Sal's brother is helping her along with this and is trying to help clear his brother's name. And Addie puts together a lot of pieces that the cops just didn't. And you have to disband belief that this teenager was able to connect the dots better than a law enforcement officer. But it's really good. I did end up giving it, I think, 4.5 stars because I did have to disband belief a little bit, but I really did enjoy this. And if you're looking for a YA thriller to get like I would say anywhere from 13 to 15-year-old into, this is a really good one. They do talk about murder, but there's no over talk of violence or anything. This would be a really good one. I would give it to my little sister who she's 10, so I'd probably give it to her at like 12 to let her start getting into thrillers. Yeah, I would definitely, this is a really good one. I would say Sadie, I would wait for like 15 to 17 because there's a little more talk of sensitive subjects, and the same thing with Your Next. I'd probably wait 16, 17 because of the topics discussed in there. And that goes for my little one. That's what I would give it to her. And then 4th on my list is The Adherence Games by Jennifer L. Barnes. If you've not heard of this, I don't know how you haven't. It's been all over everywhere. I feel like every time I get on the internet, it's there. This all revolves around, I was trying to remember her name. Avery. So it all revolves around Avery, and Avery is given $46.2 billion by Thomas Hawthorne. She's never met the man. Doesn't even know who he is. Doesn't know him from Adam. He is a billionaire, obviously, who cuts everyone else out of his will and leaves everything to Avery. And Avery, the only caveat is Avery has to move into his mansion and live there for, I think, like 6 months or a year or something like that to get the money. Her and her sister, because her mother is no longer in their life. Her mother, I believe, passed. Maybe. They have the same father. Her and her sister had the same father. And obviously, like, if any of us won $0.2 billion, people come out of the woodworks claiming they know her and they know her sister and they know all about them, and, and drama happens. But now she's also going, why did he give me this money? And come to find out, Tobias has always been big on games, and him and his grandsons love to play games, and he loves to give them riddles and make them figure it out and make them the best they can be by figuring out his riddles. And so he kind of leaves them a riddle to go on, and they do, and it kind of goes down a rabbit hole, and it's so good. Like, you want to go down the rabbit hole with them. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. There was actually a second and a third. The third comes out in September. I've not read the second one. I'm hoping to pick it up, but this was so good. And then lastly on my list of my top YA thrillers I've already read. If you have any suggestions for ones, leave them down below. I would love to read them. I love thrillers. YA ones just don't pique my interest as often, and that's just not something I pick up as often. So I would love your suggestions. What are you doing? What are you doing, little girl? Do you want your baby? Here. Sorry. Baby side. And the last one is Cracked Up to Be by Courtney Summers as well. So this one follows Parker. Parker was believed to be perfect, and then basically she loses her shit one day. A friend of hers goes missing, and when that friend goes missing, Parker loses her shit. And this book is all about Parker trying to get her shit back. She, after a devastating party, she basically stops giving a fuck and turns into the classic drunk kid who she obviously is acting out for attention. She's acting out, blah. And everyone's trying to figure out what happened to Parker to make her into this person, because she was like the perfect teenager. She was in cheerleading. She got A's. She, everything. And then after this party, she barely is getting C's. She doesn't show up to class part of the time. And when she does show up, she's drunk. She does not want to be on the cheerleading squad anymore. She has alienated herself from all her friends. And this is her kind of clawing her way back and dealing with her trauma. And the whole time she's dealing with her trauma and trying to claw herself back, you're trying to figure out what happened at the party. And that's where the thriller aspect comes in, because you're really trying to figure out what happened at this party. Why is she so, why is she go off deep end? And not to mention, at this party, one of her friends goes missing, and they have not found her or her body or anything. And I believe at the very beginning, I don't want to ruin anything. I don't want to spoil it. I'm not going to say it, but something does happen that kind of stirs everything up again, and she goes to try to figure out what happened to her friend and why what happened. Hi, Chuggy girl. So that, it's so good. I gave it 5 stars. Again, it's a tiny little book. I have a thing for tiny little books. This one's only 224 pages long, so just over 200 pages. But so much happens in this 200 pages that it is so good. It is Courtney Summers' debut novel. And honestly, it's so good. Sadie was number 2, and then she has The Project, which is about a cult. And so I have not had a chance to read it yet. It's on my shelves, but I love Courtney Summers. She writes YA thriller really, really well. So anything by her, I would recommend. Again, I haven't read The Project. I've heard it's not as good as Sadie. But honestly, I hadn't heard anybody talk about this one. The only thing I've heard anybody talk about is Sadie. So this I love just as much as I love Sadie. So yeah, those are the the 5 YA thrillers on my shelves that I loved and could reread over again and probably missed something and would love to reread. If you have any suggestions, please leave them below. Me and Ollie are going to get off here, and we will see y'all in my next one. Say bye. No, bye. 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 Bye, guys.